Who would have thought that a simple plane trip could turn into a nightmare? With my foot in a cast, sitting in a wheelchair, and my cat on my lap, I was expecting a peaceful flight. But that peace was shattered by a woman and her spoiled son, who seemed determined to turn my journey into hell. The woman, a true hag, demanded that I give up my wheelchair for her son, for no reason at all. When I refused, the situation escalated to absurd levels. Insults, false accusations, and even an attempt to hurt my cat marked my day. With each new obstacle, I felt more powerless. The woman, with her arrogance and manipulation, seemed capable of anything to get what she wanted. But I wasn't about to be defeated by a Karen. Follow this story and find out how I handled this outrageous situation, and how I emerged super victorious from this battle.
Hey guys, welcome to our channel.
Hello, I'm Olivia. It all started a few weeks ago when I twisted my ankle in a weird way. The sharp crack, followed by searing pain, made me certain that this wouldn't be a quick recovery. I was forced to wear a medical boot and avoid strain, but I still had to travel. I knew walking long distances at the airport would be a nightmare, so I opted for a wheelchair to minimize the pain. Check-in and security were smooth, even pleasant. People cast curious glances at my cat, a long-haired feline with bright eyes that I carried in a pet carrier. He always caught attention, and I didn't mind. After passing through security, I sat back in my wheelchair, adjusted my luggage, and prepared to wait for my flight. That's when I noticed a mother and her son watching me from a distance. The boy, maybe 4 or 5 years old, nudged his mother and pointed at me. I didn't think much of it and continued scrolling on my phone. Suddenly, I felt a tap on my shoulder. I took off my headphones, and to my unfortunate surprise, I found myself face to face with the most entitled and arrogant woman I had ever seen. Her gaze was sharp as a blade, and beside her stood her little mini tyrant, a boy staring at me with curious eyes. But he wasn't looking at me. He was fascinated by my cat. I stayed alert, making sure the boy didn't suddenly try to grab him. He seemed content just watching, which didn't bother me. But his mother, on the other hand, had a look of disdain that soon revealed her true intentions. "Hello, my name is Karen," she announced, as if it were some kind of noble title. "Hi, Karen," I responded, trying to sound polite. "How are you?" She looked offended. "First of all, I would appreciate it if you addressed me as Miss or Ma'am Karen. Learn some manners." A familiar sense of discomfort settled in my chest. "All right, do you need something?" "Yes, I need you to get up," she said, her voice dripping with authority. For a moment, I thought maybe she needed help with something serious. Maybe she had dropped something or needed to reach an inaccessible spot. But her stare was cold and impersonal. "I'm fine right here. If you need to grab something, I can move the chair so you can see better," I offered, still trying to stay composed. "No, I don't need you to move the chair," she said, her voice hardening. "I need you to get out of the chair." "What?" My brain needed a few seconds to process the absurdity of what she was asking. "Can I ask why?" I questioned, already sensing that her answer would be ridiculous. She sighed impatiently, crossing her arms. "Besides the fact that an adult is asking you to do something, and you should obey? If you must know, my son is tired and needs to sit down. So get up, please." A wave of disbelief washed over me. My blood boiled. She wanted me to get out of my wheelchair, so her son could rest? This had to be a joke. I took a deep breath, containing the irritation bubbling inside me. "I'm sorry, but I'll be staying right here. There might be some available seats at another gate," I replied, keeping calm. Karen frowned as if I had just said something outrageous. "But he's tired. I can't walk all the way to another gate. It's too far." My patience was wearing thin. "I'm also injured. It would be very difficult for me to walk there as well," I responded, hoping to end the conversation. She huffed, looking at me as if I were a heartless monster. Then, as if trying to prove some ridiculous point, she banged on the wall next to me. "You were standing at security. You can very well stand here. You have something to lean on. Now give us that chair." My heart pounded. I wanted to laugh at her audacity, but I also felt a mix of anger and shock. "Please leave me alone. I'll be here until it's time for my boarding," I said firmly, leaving no room for argument. Karen narrowed her eyes. "You're really not going to help a child? What kind of soulless person are you?" I ignored her. I put my headphones back on, ending the conversation. She let out an irritated grunt, grabbed her son's hand, and stomped away. I sighed in relief, thinking I had finally gotten rid of her. But of course, it couldn't be that simple. 2 minutes later, while I was distracted scrolling through my phone, I felt a sudden tug on my medical boot. An instant later, excruciating pain shot through my foot. "What the hell?" I yelped, looking down. The little boy was trying to climb onto me. He was using my boot as a step and attempting to jump into my lap. My instincts reacted before my brain could process it. I automatically pushed him away. He fell to the floor and within seconds was crying in full tantrum mode. And then, like thunder before a storm, Karen's voice rang through the gate. "How dare you attack my son?" Before I could open my mouth, she was already wailing, yelling, and waving her arms like I had committed an unforgivable crime. "This woman attacked my baby. I want her off this flight." The commotion caught the attention of an airport employee, who came over to assess the situation. Before I could defend myself, Karen began spewing her melodramatic nonsense. "He's hurt. He just wanted a place to sit. She promised to let him sit on her lap, and then threw him on the floor. The boy, still crying, nodded along. My heart pounded. One lie after another. Now she was making up an entire story to incriminate me. The employee looked at me, waiting for an explanation. I could hardly believe the level of manipulation this woman was capable of. And then, as if my patience wasn't already in shambles, Karen delivered the final blow. Give us this wheelchair right now. Otherwise, I demand that she be banned from this flight. I was already in pain, I was exhausted, and now I was being falsely accused. What else was this woman capable of? I swallowed hard. This was far from over. The airport employee looked at Karen with patience that seemed to be running out. Ma'am, she has done nothing wrong. Please leave her alone. She is injured, he said firmly. Another passenger, who had been watching the whole thing, decided to step in. The wheelchair is hers. She needs it, he said, crossing his arms. But the entitled mother wasn't satisfied. This wheelchair is for people who need it, and right now my son needs it. She was rude and attacked my baby. If you won't give me the chair, then I demand that she be removed from this flight immediately. The employee sighed, crossing his arms. Ma'am, you are harassing another passenger, and that is not allowed. I'm giving you one last chance to calm down and apologize to this young lady. Otherwise, we will have to take more serious action. Karen huffed, her rage simmering. Then, as if searching for another argument, she found a new target. She's bringing an animal on board. How is this allowed? It's probably illegal, and it'll attack everyone during the flight. I was fed up with her nonsense. Now, besides trying to steal my wheelchair, she was coming after my cat? That was the last straw. I've asked you countless times to leave me alone, I retorted, my voice as sharp as a blade. My cat has a paid ticket, is within airline regulations, and frankly seems far better behaved than your child. Which, considering your own behavior, doesn't surprise me one bit. The employee cleared his throat. Ma'am, her cat is allowed on board. She paid for its ticket and is following the rules. Your behavior, on the other hand, is violating the airline's policies. This is my final warning. Leave this passenger alone. The woman's face turned as red as a tomato. Grumbling, she grabbed her son by the arm and started to walk away, but not before shooting me one last venomous glare. I should have relaxed at that moment, but something about the way she whispered to the boy set off all my alarms. Before I could react, the kid bolted toward me, eyes locked on my cat's carrier. The speed and determination made my blood run cold. What was he planning? Was he going to hurt my cat? My body reacted before my mind could process it. Instinctively, I stretched out my leg at the exact moment he tried to jump on me. He couldn't reach the carrier. Instead, he slammed straight into my orthopedic boot and fell to the ground with a loud thud. I let out a cry of pain because, yeah, that hurt. The pain shot up my leg like fire, making me gasp involuntarily. But I barely had time to process it because the kid immediately started wailing like I had thrown him against a wall. The airport employee, already fed up, called security. The woman, meanwhile, rushed to her son, holding him in her arms as if he had been brutally attacked. Why did you hurt my son? She screamed, her eyes blazing with rage. You witch! My patience had completely run out. Listen closely, I began, my voice as cold as ice. You told your son to attack me. This is the second time he's gotten hurt because you told him to do something stupid. I would never do that. She shrieked, but was immediately interrupted by her own son. But, Mommy, you told me to sit on the kitty's box and smash it as hard as I could. The boy whined. The silence that followed was deafening. The woman's face turned pale as a sheet. Her eyes widened in pure horror, and then she did the only thing she could at that moment. She spun around and screamed at her son. Shut up! But it was too late. Security arrived just as the airport employee gave his final verdict. Ma'am, you and your son will not be boarding this flight. Security will escort you out. Your luggage will be retrieved as soon as possible. Now, please gather your belongings and follow these officers. The woman's eyes widened in shock at the turn of events. What? No. She's the one who should be removed. She hurt my son. But no one was listening anymore. Security was already in position, ready to escort her out. The woman stared at the airport employee with pure indignation. What do you mean? She's the only one being rude. You need to kick her off this flight right now. She screeched, her voice dripping with desperation and fury. I took a deep breath, keeping my composure. My body still ached, my leg throbbed, and adrenaline coursed through my veins. But I knew I couldn't lose my cool now. The woman huffed, yanking her son closer, as if she was about to make one last desperate attempt. My son and I need to get on this plane. He has to get back to summer camp, and we can't afford to find another flight. She ranted, as if that somehow justified everything she had done. The airport employee sighed, his patience completely drained. Ma'am, you will not be allowed on this flight. Not today, not with this behavior. Please leave peacefully with these officers, or we will be forced to remove you. Security was already in place, and the woman realized she had no more room to argue. She tried protesting a little more, her voice swinging between shouting and begging. But in the end, she had no choice. She grabbed her son, who now looked more confused than anything, and started walking away, hurling insults and curses over her shoulder like a volcano about to erupt. You'll pay for this. Jesus has a special place for people like you. She yelled, pointing a trembling finger at me as if casting a curse. Finally, she disappeared down the airport corridors, escorted by security. I let out a long sigh and closed my eyes for a moment, finally feeling the relief wash over me. And then I was able to fly in peace. The next day, I went to the doctor, and as I suspected, my ankle didn't handle the stress of the ordeal well. Recovery would take longer than I had anticipated. Meanwhile, the airline called me to collect my official statement on the incident. To my surprise, they also offered me vouchers as compensation for my trouble and informed me that the passenger had been permanently banned from flying with their airline. I guess they were just as happy as I was to finally be rid of her.
Want more mysteries, twists, and exciting moments? So you can't miss this video. Click now and continue this journey of fascinating stories. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any news. Leave your comments and see you next time.